What's good, my people? Welcome into No Catch Up Sports Talk via Chicago. I am your host, Sean Little. Big Nick the Quick with me, as always. We got a lot to talk about. We missed last week. We're both working, but we're back in the saddle. NBA is off and running. Opening week, what do we think so far? The Bucks have looked pitiful. The Denver Nuggets have looked pitiful. Needed overtime in Toronto to get that W. A lot of NBA stuff to talk about. Boston looks like Boston. NFL recap. What are we at, Nick? Week 9 coming in? Week 10 loading. We're right around there.
We're rolling.
We got to recap the Chicago Bears and the Hail Mary and just talk about where we're at. Matt Eberflus, the colors are showing. We told you they would. The team, I almost did the whole pod right there. I got to chill. We're going to talk about the Bears catching an L and then look around the league a little bit. Also, I want to talk about the Yankees are down 3-0 in the World Series, and I want to talk about Aaron Judge and his struggles at the plate. How do we rate guys like this? We got to talk about that situation. Shout out Freddie Freeman. He's doing his thing. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my weekend over in Europe to catch a couple football matches. No Catch Up Sports Talk via Chicago. Let's get to it.
Now look at Mossy. Really? Oh, so that's how you're going to play it. You going to do this? Okay, fine. That's all I needed. That's all I needed for him to do that. And it became personal with me.
Big Nick the Quick, what's happening?
How are we feeling?
Man, we're here. I'm happy to be back, bro. We only missed a week. Feels like we missed a month.
Yeah. It was a busy
so
week.
much stuff has happened. I apologize to all the loyal listeners and watchers out there. I'm trying to do it all right now. I'm trying to do it all by myself. Nick's trying to do the same, and we had to miss a week. But we're gonna try not to let that happen. Let's get right into it. I won't waste too much time. But Nick, I went over to from New York. If you're on the East Coast and you're listening to this, you can do the Europe weekender. It's possible. I just did it. It is very doable. You're going to be behind on sleep for maybe one day. But I got a good, solid 10 hours of sleep last night. I watched this morning, you know me, on the East Coast, get up, get the coffee, watch whatever I missed last night. So I was up at like 6 a.m. this morning watching hoops. It's doable. I left on the red eye on Friday after I worked the Knicks game, home opener. They got the dub, beat up on the Pacers. Took the red eye to Spain, landed in Madrid at 10 a.m., was at lunch by 1 p.m., had a drink by 3 p.m., was at the match by 8 p.m., went to London, caught another match, Arsenal-Liverpool, both really fun games, and I left Monday morning and was back in New York by 12:30. It's doable. It's doable.
Yeah. You brought a lot of luck out there with for your teams too. Brought a lot of luck to Real Madrid. Brought a lot of luck to Arsenal, man. So maybe you should go to more matches.
Yeah, 4-0 Barcelona. Yamin Lamal is a 17-year-old phenom that knows he's a phenom, was chirping the Madrid fans. It was actually a really, really interesting game. Part of me thinks that match cost Vinicius Jr. the Ballon d'Or last night, who went to Rodri, but that's a whole nother conversation. I think part of that, I believe the voting was still open as late as Saturday. So that was really interesting. But because he was a huge favorite going into the ceremony.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to get too off topic and start talking ball. But then
shout out Vinny Jr.
Shout out Vinny Jr., man, Vinicius. He had an awesome year. He probably should have won the award. We get to London. I'm sitting on the end. Saka scores the opening goal 1-0. It was absolutely electric. I actually got to get some social up. I'm going to try to chop up some posts and do like a little vlog so y'all can peep the fun weekend, but I'll get to that. But let's get to the matter at hand, and let's talk Big Nick the Quick about the Chicago Bears. Then we'll do a little NFL roundup.
Man, I tried. I'll let you go. Never mind.
No, okay, yeah. No, so this is where I was at with it. First of all, I was watching it from London, live at a pub, and I got my tweet off after the Hail Mary, and I immediately went back to the hotel and went to sleep. That was it. I got my tweet off. It wasn't even like I was watching up the street. I walked a block. I saw it happen. I tweeted, and I walked out the door. And I went to sleep. I was sleeping in 15 minutes. It was done.
Yeah.
I don't need to say anymore, do anything else. I don't need to watch any more highlights. I don't need to hear any breakdown. I don't need to hear any of that. But it was a classic, Nick. You beat up on a couple bad teams, but you do thump them, and you are playing better. And you go into the bye week, and everyone is blowing smoke, positive smoke up your ass for 2 weeks. You guys are playing so much better. You guys are so good. Shane Waldron is calling better plays. Matt Eberflus has the defense playing so well. Caleb Williams is one of those guys, and he is one of those guys. We'll get to that in a second. But you're going to come out flat. And that's exactly how they came out so fucking flat. It was unbelievable. They were not interested in that game whatsoever. It was clear. They took the 2 weeks to chill and had a blast, and they are a good football team now. And that is a void of coaching. That is a void of big-time leadership, because overall, who are the older guys on the squad? I guess Keenan Allen. But, like, there's a lot of different things that can happen.
I think the leadership on the team is the DJ Moore, the Jalen Johnson, the Cole Kmet type guys. You don't really have probably like a Tremaine Edwards and guys like that.
Yeah,
Keenan just got here,
Edmonds,
and he hasn't been playing.
Correct. So.
Or wasn't playing.
Or, Nick, the leader's the head coach of the football team.
How about that? You can start there. You can start
there, right? We're looking from leadership from the guy that's had his 6th start in the NFL, and he's 22 years old. But how about the head coach is the leader and make sure shit's getting done? And I'm going to give you the mic here in a second, Big Nick, the quick. But Jalen Johnson, on record, comes out and says, the Tyreek Stevenson shit was unacceptable. Cole Kmet made a comment that players were lax in practice, weren't finishing reps. Shit was real lackadaisical during the bye week and during practice, and those are the things that need to be cleaned up. Jalen Johnson then said, Cole Kmet never lied, and that's actually true. And they came in a little lackadaisical and weren't focused throughout the week.
And specifically reference details. If you listen to Jalen Johnson's interview, specifically reference we're not as detailed as we should be, which 1,000% falls on coaching.
He mentioned detail-oriented.
Yeah.
We're not a detail-oriented group.
Yeah.
When things happen incorrectly, we're not focused on getting them fixed. They're kind of passed over. They're not fixed, talked about, corrected, so they won't happen again. It's the attention to detail that's the problem with Matt Eberflus and the Chicago Bears. Last thing, Nick, before I give it to you. This is why it's so important to dissect wins and attention to detail and things that Eberflus and coaching can do better in wins and not only losses. Because if that ball does get knocked down and the Bears win, we absolutely stole the game, played like garbage for 3 quarters, and the play before still happened. Tyreek Stevenson is still chirping in the corner. All that stuff doesn't get amplified unless the Bears lose and the Hail Mary happens. That's why sometimes you do need to be critical in W's. That's why sometimes me and Nick don't get overhyped and get too out over our skis when we're talking about the Bears and where we need to be. Big Nick the Quick, take it away before I just do the solo pod and start running off. But yeah, where are you at with Eberflus, the game overall, the approach, how they came in, and then where we're at right now?
Offensively, absolutely came out like you hit it right on the head. They came out completely flat on offense, no imagination, no creativity, no building on what you had in the previous 2 games. Looked like the Bears offense did the first couple weeks of the season, where it was just a hope and a prayer and maybe Caleb's going to do something for us. You can talk about handing the ball. We talk about this all the time. We can go back to Nagy with this goal line foolery that for some reason the Bears continue to participate in. Remember when we had the special teamer blocking at the goal line in week 2? Remember when we had the zone read option on the goal line in week 3? Well, now we fast forward to right now when, again, Waldron's been getting a lot of credit as an offensive coordinator and calling better plays. You get to the goal line and you hand it off to a backup center. Look, I don't care how many times Orlovsky tries to break it down and tell us it's a good play. It is not a good play. line up and play football. So that's number one. Now we could talk about the Hail Mary situation, but let's talk about before that. Matt Eberflus, we've been on him since day one about his game management and his lack of football intellect. I don't remember who caught the pass, but it was in the fourth quarter. Jalen Daniels completed like a 15-yard pass up the middle that 1,000% landed on the ground as dude was catching it. Redskins hurried up and ran the next play. Bears did not challenge that. How many times have we talked about Eberflus showing challenges on plays that were clearly catches that happened in front of him, but in this one, you don't challenge that? No one's talking about that because of the Hail Mary, but that was a pivotal play in this game. If you have that clip or if you remember who it was, let me know. Keep me honest here. I don't remember. But
I know exactly what player you're talking about.
You know what play I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So you can talk about that, which no one's talking about. Then we get to the Hail Mary situation. Look, it's been broken down and dissected by everybody. You can watch the clips. You can watch Get Up. You can watch First Take. You can watch NFL Live. You can watch whatever you want. There was a million different things that went wrong on that play, and 999,000 of them were coaching related. 1,000%. That falls on Eberflus. That falls on the defensive coordinator. That falls on not being prepared for that situation. There was only one outcome. It had to go to the end zone. Had to go to the end zone. Why do you have a guy spying as if Jaden Daniels is going to run it for 70 yards for a touchdown? Why on the play before do you let them pick up 15 by going into soft coverage, knowing that on that particular play, there was no way you were going to get in the end zone because he would have had to heave it 85 yards? Then you give up the 15. You put them in position to complete the Hail Mary. You have a guy who's off on the sidelines for an entire 5 seconds taunting the crowd. You have TJ Edwards playing spy as if it's Mike Vick Madden 2004 back there, and he might break off for 85-yard run.
That Vikings play was in the fold.
You're not calling a timeout before, even though you have 3 of them, to get your guys set up once you see how the Commanders are going to line up. You don't do any of that. You just let it happen. You stand there and watch as a bystander, and then after the game, you offer up nothing by way of explanation. Then, the next day, your players throw you under the bus and roll it over about 5 or 6 times. It's very clear what's going on here. I tried not to be mad about this because ultimately, like I told you, everything for me this year is based around Caleb Williams, and in the fourth quarter, Caleb Williams was absolutely outstanding. Right? We talk about winning time. We talk about making plays. He had 2 scoring drives. One was taken away by some dumb shit, but he did have 2 scoring drives, right? Because they scored a touchdown on the one where they handed off to the backup center, but they didn't. Caleb gets the ball back and leads them on another spectacular scoring drive where all he does is make winning play after winning play, even though he had a subpar game up to that point. But all of it is washed away by bad coaching, lack of discipline. How many pre-snap penalties are we going to get? Seriously, how many pre-snap penalties can you have as a football team? That is lack of discipline. That comes down to coaching. So, again, I tried not to be mad, but I think watching everything yesterday really, really made me upset, and it's inexcusable. And like you said, it comes down to coaching and culture.
It's clear that Eberflus is just very blasé, very indifferent.
He's a player's coach. These guys love me. I'm a rah-rah guy.
Well, clearly, verbatim, he came out and said the play before the Hail Mary doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
He said that didn't matter.
Yeah.
He said that verbatim.
It doesn't matter.
He's talking about execution, but all this shit staggers and stacks up on each other to the Hail Mary. If you maybe challenge the catch over the middle, maybe we're not in the situation. If you stop and press the corners and don't let them pick up 15, 16 yards so the Hail Mary is possible, then the Hail Mary doesn't get caught. Then there's not even Tyreek Stevenson is not in the corner. It's very life in general is just very butterfly effect. This decision you're making right now is going to affect something that's going on later in the day or later in the week. It all is tied together. And it goes back to the week prior in practice. He's very either not aware and doesn't know how to run, and he's over his head. I think
he's in over his head.
The simplest way to put it is he's in over his head. That's the easiest way to put it.
Yeah.
Because when your players are coming out and they're saying, yeah, the week going into practice, we weren't locked in. People weren't finishing reps.
Coming off of a bye.
The coaches aren't the attention to detail wasn't there. Do you look? I don't. Let me get it. I want to get the exact number. Andy Reid off of a bye week record. Let me see what comes up.
Yeah,
he's 21-4 following a regular season bye week. Do you know how? That's not an accident.
That's not a fluke.
He's going into the bye week and he's getting in the lab and getting the team ready to go. They are ready to go. That's in his career. That's not just Patrick Mahomes. That's going back to Philadelphia. He has an extra week to prepare and he has guys ready to go. The team comes out after the game. Cole Kmet gets on a mic and says, guys weren't finishing reps. No one was locked in. The attention to detail wasn't there. It's clearly because the team was getting a ton of love. They relaxed. Hey, I'll be honest, as a sports bettor, as a guy, when I'm going through things and I'm on fire for 3 straight weeks, that 4th week, I'm not probably in the lab like I should be. And that's what separates the real dudes from the next level guys. If you can win the week and go into the next week like you don't deserve shit or not owed anything or you don't know we have to win the next game, those are the guys that are different. Matt Eberflus and that staff clearly aren't running shit correctly.
Yeah.
And they're riding high and everything is good. Blase. That play doesn't matter. We'll just knock the pass down. This guy is not a head coach, not a leader of a franchise that's going to get us to the next level. And when I'm talking about the Bears, I'm talking about big picture things and winning games and important hosting playoff games. That's what this shit is about. And Matt Eberflus is not going to take us there. It's clear.
1,000%. And that was the fear when they started winning all these games, that it was going to hide all this shit about Eberflus that we have been seeing forever. Again, that challenge to me speaks volumes. I know it's not being talked about, but if you look at some of the shit that he has challenged, to not challenge that in that situation when you are sitting on 3 timeouts, right? It speaks volumes. The fact that Cole Kmet came out and basically said, let's call it what it is. I'm not surprised that happened. You should see us during the week.
Right. That's what he said.
The fact that Jalen came out and said, yeah, I'm not surprised Cole said that. You should see us during the week, right? These are 2 of your highest profile players. These are 2 guys who are on contract number 2. These are 2 leaders of your team. The fact that the whole game goes by, it's National Tight Ends Day. You have tight ends all over the league making plays. Shout out my boy Kyle Pitts with 2 touchdowns. We still waiting on Kyle Pitts. It's okay. I never left. And Cole Kmet doesn't get targeted all game. He had no targets. We've been talking about this for years. Cole Kmet is extremely valuable. He should be a number 1 focus on your game plan offensively for a rookie quarterback. Period, point blank. Why does he have a game plan where he's not getting targeted for the majority of the game, especially when you can't do shit in the passing offense, right? This offensive line still has problems. You haven't done anything to fix that. Then your solution when you get down into a goal line situation where all you need to do is line them up and score, you put in a backup center and hand the ball off to him. And we're supposed to be surprised when he fumbles it. And then after the game, again, you offer no explanation on anything. Most coaches would be seething. Could you imagine if that happened to Bill Belichick? Could you imagine the presser on that one? I mean, come on, man. You sit there. That didn't matter before that we essentially put them into Hail Mary range. That is situational football. You have to know the situation that can happen at every spot on the field. If you give up 15 on that play before, a play when they were not in Hail Mary range, there's not a quarterback alive that can make that throw. You could bring Kyle Bowler from one knee. He's not making that throw. But we put him back up. 15 yards, and guess what? A lot of guys can make that throw. So how can you come out there and say it doesn't matter? It doesn't matter. Yeah, we know that because you called a defense where it doesn't matter. You went into a prevent defense and gave them 15. If I'm Kingsbury, I'm like, oh my God, how much easier could you make this for us? Then you don't call a timeout before the Hail Mary once you get a look into what they're doing and to remind your guys of what they should do. Hey, bat this ball forward. The worst thing you can do is tip this ball and have it go backwards. Make sure that someone is covering the end zone because they're going to put a guy back there whose sole responsibility is to watch the ball and figure out where it's going to go, which is exactly what they did. That's the only way you lose on these plays. There's only a couple ways you can lose on these plays. And you're supposed to be covering that. And that's why you call a timeout. Matt, you can't take them with you. If you keep 3 in this second half, it doesn't mean you have 6 to start the first half next week. That's not how it goes. Call the timeouts and use them. Get in somebody's ass.
Oh, that's not his style.
But it's not his style because you want to be a rah-rah. Listen, you want to be a buddy-buddy, rah-rah guy. That's what he is. We saw it in Hard Knocks. Hey, guys, what's up, man? Jimbo got a nickname for everybody? Come on, man.
Look,
come on. It was a winnable football game. And your quarterback did everything despite your best efforts on the offensive line to sabotage him on Sunday. In the fourth quarter, it cannot go understated. Caleb Williams was magnificent. He was magnificent
in the fourth quarter.
Both of those drives, he was absolutely magnificent. We talk about winning football. I have not wavered.
Honestly, the fourth quarter made me completely forget about the entire first. I almost don't care.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
He was unbelievable.
Unbelievable making plays.
I'm talking about making plays, sidearm, sling. I mean, he was
with
unbelievable.
His legs. Yeah, I gotta pick up 10 here doing this. I'm gonna do that. I'm throwing sidearm. I'm getting the ball to guys in whatever way, and if it's not, I'm tucking and running that bitch.
Yeah, dog. The progression on one of the drives when he was looking left with 2 feet planted, looking left, goes to the second read, flips his hips to get his left foot forward. Because as you're told as a quarterback, proper mechanics, if you get like front leg and arm should be going towards your target, right? Like that helps with accuracy. He flips the hips, goes to the seam to Keenan Allen, I believe. Yeah. He was sensational in the fourth.
Sensational.
Now Kevin Warren. Yeah, now Kevin Warren, I want to be clear. Like Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren. If I'm hearing what the players are saying about attention to detail and shit throughout the week and a bye week and coming in flat, and they basically said we knew we were going to come in flat because we fucked around all week.
Oh, yeah,
if I'm hearing that and I'm Poles and Kevin Warren, that is very damning for Eberflus and the rest of the coaching staff. And also, Nick, I want to hear what you think about this. It's really interesting to me that the players were so comfortable coming out and saying that.
My thoughts on that too, yeah.
Like, hey, yeah, man, we were fucking around all week and he didn't have us ready and the attention to detail is really not there. And they're just relaxed during the week saying this on microphones, on podcasts, on radio shows. It's just another example of the culture and you don't have shit under control. Players for certain coaches throughout this league would never say that.
Would never.
Even if they thought it. If they thought it and believed it and it was something that was being said throughout the team in the locker room, they would never go out in public into the media and relay it ever. It just shows to me they don't believe in him. They don't respect him. He's just, he's not a head coach in the NFL. They, just like us, they don't believe he's the guy that's going to take them to the promised land. Because if that really was the case, they would never come out and say that. Like, I'll give you one more example before I give it to you. Dan Campbell is a trigger man, goes for it. Gut feeling. If I feel like this can flip the momentum in a game, I'll do it. Sometimes it doesn't work out, other times it does. But I can guarantee you, with that culture right now and what they got going on in Detroit, Campbell could go for it on his own 5-yard line on a fake punt. And And if they asked the players what they thought about it, they would say, hey, Campbell called it. We're going to try and go out there and execute. We didn't get it done. Next time we'll get it done.
We do it again in a heartbeat. We trust our coach implicitly.
Exactly.
We trust our coach implicitly. That is not what happened with the Chicago Bears. And look, I think part of it from the players and especially on the defensive guys is a little bit of deflection, right? Because, again, at the end of the day, you were out there and you guys could have made a difference. But when you see people are piling on the coach, hey, I'll hop on that too because we don't got to talk about me. So I think that's part of it, but they're not wrong. To your point, if you had a strong culture around your head coach, if guys believe that the head coach had the proper philosophy, I'm losing the word right here, whatever it is, right? If guys believed in their head coach, and I think your Campbell example is prime, because there are times when I'm watching the Detroit Lions, he'll go for it on 4th and down. I'm like, man, that's a really bad decision, right? A really, really, really. There's one in the Vikings game where I'm just like, man, that's an awful decision. But no one's going to question it because everything else he does is correct. And you know that he's doing it from the right place. And the guy has an idea of what he's doing. Guys know when their head coach has absolutely no idea what's going on. They know that he has no idea what's going on. That's why they have no problem throwing him under the bus. And I think it's very telling that not only was it just an offensive guy that did it, right? Because Eberflus is a defensive head coach. Those are his guys. It was a defensive guy. And it was one of your most prominent, if not your best player on defense that came out and said that, right? So that to me speaks volumes. Could you imagine Lance Briggs coming on a Monday and throwing Lovie Smith under the bus? Could you imagine Nathan Vasher or whoever, Adewale Ogunleye, coming out and throwing Lovie under the bus?
Yeah.
Shout out Wale Ogunleye.
Yeah,
Alex Brown, whoever it would never happen, even if Lovie had made the dumbest decision ever. So to have one of your guys on defense, which is where we know you spend the majority of your time throughout the week, come out and say, yeah, Cole ain't never told a lie. Come on, man. And casually say it too. It's not even like he had to think about it. It's not even like he had to think about it. And again, you waste this performance from Caleb. You waste it, right? You completely flip the narrative. You lead every show on Monday with your buffoonery.
And that's why you just have to pay attention to details in wins and losses. And let's be clear, the defense showed up in this game. They did. They gave up 12 points. So like I gotta push back a little bit on you saying like the players or whatever they could have executed on the Hail Mary, but they fucking executed every other play throughout the entire game. And offensively, we weren't ready to go. But just the culture.
You could also say that about the defensive coordinator. He executed on every other play of the game until it mattered.
Sure. No, correct. But we should be scoring more than 18 points anyway.
Yeah, we absolutely should. Yeah.
Against a defense that's not very good, by the way. No, we're not even talking about that. So overall, it's just not the guy that could take us to the promised land. He has to pack up and go. And we've been saying that. We've been saying this literally before Caleb was on our team.
Yeah.
Hey, we need to reset this whole thing. If you go Justin Fields or Caleb or whatever you do, he cannot be a part of the equation if we're going to be a serious football team. And here we are coming off of mistake after mistake, pre-snap penalty after pre-snap penalty.
And if this goes the way where it's potentially headed, here we are again, where second-year quarterback with a new head coach, right?
And a new system and a new
system and all that and zero continuity. And I'll tell you what right now, listen, if you're Ryan Poles, hey, listen, I put it in the group chat the other day, sign linemen, draft linemen, trade for linemen, overpay for linemen. I don't give a damn. It cannot look like this again next year. I have yet to meet the quarterback that can throw the ball from his back. The pocket is consistently collapsing around him. You are plugging and playing guys left and right. You got to figure something out. And I don't blame the kid that they had out there. Was a young left tackle after Braxton Jones went down, the rookie. Yeah, I mean, listen, man, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? The guy's like a rookie 5th round pick. It's going to happen,
Tevin's
right?
going down all the time. Yeah, it needs to get deeper.
It needs to get deeper and it needs to get better. It needs to get deeper and it needs to get better. And don't tell me you can't find these guys. Find them. They're out there. I love wide receivers. I love running backs. I love tight ends. All that's great. None of that shit matters if Caleb is running for his life. And that's how it's been all year. Again, a couple weeks of winning is like lipstick on a pig. It's still a fucking pig. You still can't block for this man. Eberflus is still your head coach. These are facts. You have to change him if you're Ryan Poles.
And maybe it's a blessing in disguise last year. Maybe the Lions win the Super Bowl this year. Bears go and get Ben Johnson, and it's a happy ending. But we shall find out.
Does Penei Sewell come with him?
Hopefully, maybe go get maybe make it a pack deal.
Call up. San Fran has to pay their quarterback next year. Call them up, see if Trent wants to come over.
Trent's old though.
I don't give a Trent.
Trent's that guy though.
Trent will run circles around anybody we have on our line right now.
Coach number one, tone setter, get all that other shit sorted, and then yes, Nick is absolutely right. Whatever is necessary, go get some offensive linemen that could do what is needed to be done. Yeah. Yes. All right. We could talk. I literally could talk an hour and a half on the Bears, but we got to move. Let's talk the rest about the NFL. Big Nick said right before we hopped on, let's talk about the Jets. Oh. I don't really want to talk about the Jets, the Cowboys.
Why? That's your team.
These are the things I don't want to talk about.
That's your guy. You went to MetLife, man. That's your guy. Tell me about the Jets.
I don't want to talk about the Jets. I don't want to talk about the Cowboys. I don't want to talk about the Bucks.
The Bengals.
I don't want to talk about the Bengals. I don't want to talk about none of them.
Bengals lost. That's right. Lost. They got killed.
They got smoked. Yeah. So.
Shout out Jameis Winston.
Overall, shout out Jameis Winston. He did his thing. Can't talk about the Ravens though. That's a bad loss for a team. That's
a really bad loss.
That's also. I just don't know where on a week-to-week basis. If I don't know what to expect from you. This is
their defense is really bad this year. Their defense. I mean, you talk about. I understand they lost Queen. They lost their coordinator. That defense is bad this year. It's nothing like the defense they had last year. Lamar has nobody that can catch a pass for him. Like we've been talking about Lamar.
It's the defense more, but yes.
But there were some massive drops in that game. Massive drops.
Yeah, Kyle Hamilton had one.
Yeah. They dropped one on defense. They dropped a couple on offense, and they only lost by one touchdown. But that defense has been sus. Go back to that Bengals game. If Lamar doesn't go absolutely ballistic, you lose that. But they gave up 38 in that game. They're very, very suspect. And they lose on a week where the Steelers come out and win, and you put Mike Tomlin firmly in first place heading into a bye week. You want to talk about another guy who's not going to fuck around with a bye, it's going to be Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, there's just certain guys that are super serious and don't mess around, and those are the guys that you want running your football team.
Sorry, I mean to steal your thunder on Baltimore, but
no. Yeah, I mean it's just in the NFL, and we talk about football in general. Just like when you avoid teams on a week to week that you don't know what to expect, it gets really tough when you're talking about betting and buying low and buying high on markets. But right now, there are just not very many teams in the league that you could count on and you know what to expect on a week-to-week basis.
Chiefs of Kansas is probably the safest bet every week.
I was just gonna say outside of Kansas City, who gets it done and makes it happen no matter the circumstance.
Let's do a quick hit.
Well, actually, that's actually a good question because I was actually watching the tape a little bit and I was going through it. There's a lot of bad stuff on there. There's some decent things too. But as football fans and as a fan base, and I'll speak for the Colts fan base and front offices and everything, we draft a guy we know is completely wrong. By the way, if you watched Anthony Richardson at Florida, he stunk.
He was terrible.
He was a 50% pass completer. So he got to the league, and what do you know? He's completing the ball at 45, 50%.
I think it's 44%.
Yes, like the completion below expectation is at the bottom of the league. He can't do anything accuracy-wise. His mechanics aren't there. He's all over the place. He's sloppy. But he was like this at Florida. And we knew, what were all the talks about Anthony Richardson coming in? What a specimen.
Big
this
arm.
guy physically is special, but he's very raw, and he's going to need a lot of work. Same thing with Trey Lance. This guy physically has it all. He's going to need a lot of work. But then we get into, by the way, Anthony Richardson has played 13 games, 14 games maybe. I don't know the exact number. But then we don't allow guys to put in the work and look really bad for a long stretch of time.
Yeah, I don't even think he's played that many. I think he got hurt after like the second or third game last year.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's been hurt this year, yeah.
So we need to stop doing that. Yes, he sucks right now. He looks really bad. But we knew that coming in, he was going to need a lot of work and a lot of time. So don't be baffled and confused when Anthony Richardson, 50% pass completion guy at Florida, comes to the Colts and plays the Titans defense and looks bad.
But what do you think about pulling yourself out of a game? Texans defense.
We could talk about that.
Yeah, the Texans. Yeah.
So let me button up the previous point. Let's give some of these dudes legitimate amount of time. Like, different example is Bryce Young coming in, was a Heisman winner, was polished, had a lot of big wins. We thought he would come in a lot more polished and a lot better. People were verbatim out loud saying Anthony Richardson is raw. He's not going to be very good. He needs time. His mechanics are all over the place. And then when he comes in and shows that, people are shocked and flabbergasted and destroying him. It's like, we knew that already. So give the guys proper time when you come in and know that it's going to take a long time. So that's where I'm at with Anthony Richardson. Now, Anthony Richardson tapping the head and being asked out of the game.
And then that answer afterwards
is unacceptable. And this is where someone needs to talk to him, or he needs to be smarter, or he needs him saying, hey, I'm not even going to lie to you. I was tired. That's why I did it in the post-game press conference. Shows you he doesn't realize how big of a stage and situation that he is dealing with. It's clear. Oh, yeah. He thinks he's still playing Vanderbilt. This is the NFL, bro.
Yeah.
You have to, flat out, you have to blatantly lie and say, I tweaked something. I wasn't feeling right. I had to get over to the side to stretch out a crit. Make something up. You cannot say you're tired and I had to come out of the game. That cannot come out of your mouth.
Can't come out of your mouth.
I have actually a big problem, period, with guys calling out of games. I think guys call out of games way too much. Skill guys call out of games all the time. Yo, Nick, in the NFL, you make a 12-yard catch, you're immediately calling for out of the game.
Receivers coming out, yeah.
I need a blow right now.
Yeah.
That didn't used to be the culture. You picked up 15, got up, and went right back to being the Z or the X, and you ran. I'm trying to think how many times I saw like T.O. or Randy Moss or Chris Carter call out Calvin Johnson.
Randy would call out the game, but he'd stay in the game.
Well, Randy would call out of entire weeks.
Yeah. I'm gonna jog. This ball's not coming to me, so I'm gonna jog.
Randy would call out of entire weeks. I get it.
Let's go to Chris.
A bad example.
All right, we're good. I'm good. Yeah, Randy wasn't on it.
But there's a lot of guys in the league right now make a big play, immediately call out for the game. I don't really love that. But Anthony, if you are gonna, first of all, don't fucking tap your helmet so the entire universe can see. How about you grab something and then like jog off, walk off and say, yo, I tweaked something in my leg.
Yeah.
I wasn't really feeling great. But after I got up to the side, I had to get back on the field for my guys. He damn near could have flipped it.
Which I'm sure happens a lot. Yeah.
Yes. Damn near could have flipped it into a positive. Like, I'm just battling. I'm just getting back. It's my first week back. I'm battling through things. And I was just trying to, don't say I was tired in the fourth quarter and you're losing games. So, yes, those are my two takes on Anthony Richardson. But I knew this was going to be – I knew this, Nick. Hey, Nick, let's take a road trip to Los Angeles. It's going to take 20 hours. And then hour 9, you're like, actually, I can't – why did I – it's like you knew this was going to take 20 hours. You knew what we were signing up for. Why are you complaining about this road trip in hour 9? And you knew it was going to be 20. That's exactly where we're at with Anthony Richardson. all right, I gotta get in. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing? We knew what we were talking about. Let's get to hour 20 and then decide what we want to do. Like that's where I'm at on Anthony Richardson. And I'm not close, or I don't think you're close at all either to the Colts org. Like, I would love to see like what's actually going on in the back. Because like how is he practicing? How are all those things happening? Is he living in the facility? Is he watching a ton of film? Because all that stuff, people inside the org right now today know if Anthony Richardson is that guy or not, period, or they think he's going to be that guy. There's somebody walking around over there like, this ain't the answer because of the product on the field. And I see how the guy is moving on and off the court and what he's saying. He's not the guy.
And listen, you talk about the low accuracy in college and all that. Listen, I think when everybody drafts that type of player, you're hoping for Josh Allen. Remember when Josh Allen was drafted? You and I both killed him. We're like, this guy completed 45% of his passes at fucking Wyoming.
Yeah, it was like 55%.
Yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible. He played, low Division I or whatever it was. And we're like, I can't believe they make this pick. But to your point, Josh Allen lived in the facility. They surrounded him with a good supporting cast. I think you brought in Diggs in year 2 or 3, so you gave him a top-notch wide receiver, and you gave him everything to give him, success. And this is now where we're at with him. I think when you go to a Richardson or even Trey Lance, Trey Lance had his problems. I don't think he was ever really given a chance. But obviously with the emergence of Brock Purdy, you couldn't go backwards. But yeah, if you draft these type of guys, you got to understand. I love the 20-hour road trip analogy. You got to strap in for the full 20 hours. You can't be in there halfway and be like, no, let's take a plane. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
Like you have to, you have to commit to developing these guys. And even with the Bryce Young thing, it's like, hey, Carolina finally goes back to him last week. It's like, yeah, you got that one win off Dalton, but by like the 4th loss, why are we not going back to Bryce Young at this point? Are we just going to abandon the Bryce Young situation? So, yeah, I think so much of it comes down, and we understand it based off the team that we root for and have watched our whole lives. If you don't develop a quarterback correctly, if you don't put them with the tools and things that they need to succeed, this is what it looks like. You also need to know when it's time to give up on a guy like we see with the Giants and Daniel Jones. They've done everything possible to try to make it work. It's just not going to work. That's fine, right? But you have to try to develop these guys. You have to understand, if you thought that Anthony Richardson was going to be that guy in year 2, you weren't watching the film of the guy that you drafted.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And me and Nick are quick. I want to skip over the NBA. Let's shoot an NBA-specific pod like tomorrow or the next day and get that out and talk all NBA. There's a lot to unpack going back to the starting 5 on Netflix. We got a lot to talk about for the NBA. I've been digging in a bunch for work as well, so we'll have a fun conversation there. We'll try to catch up with the guys, our loyal listeners and watchers that always hit me on the DMs and we're asking me why we missed last week. My bad. We got you. We back, and we'll do a little NBA. But I got to get out of here in the next 15. So let's talk about – I wanted to ask you this. Because I'm in New York, people walking around. So you should have seen the city like yesterday, bro. Every other person I saw is wearing Yankee stuff, jacket, hat, T-shirt, jersey, series. Maybe they ran into a buzzsaw in the Dodgers, and they've been super top-heavy, the Yankees offense, all year. They got hot against the guards, and Soto, Giancarlo, or Judge each hit 2 home runs in the game. There was 2 total home runs in each game that they needed to win against the Guardians. They got hot there. They're now playing the Dodgers, and they can't get it together. But I want to talk about Aaron Judge because I'm having a really hard time articulating and kind of without calling Aaron Judge a guy that gets small in the biggest moments. I don't know how else to explain this. But talk to me about how you feel because, Nick, this is now multiple years. Aaron Judge is going to win the MVP. He'll have multiple now. And he has had historic regular seasons. 63 homers. He had 144 RBIs this year. The numbers absolutely ridiculous. Batting in the 330s. Walks through the roof. OPS. Anything you want. Expected on base. Expected, everything is through the roof. Weighted runs created, all the numbers talk, put him in an unbelievable light. But when we start talking about this playoff shit, it's completely different, man. Aaron Judge has come up at least with at least one runner on base in the first 10 innings of the Yankees' 12 postseason games. He's 0 for 10, 7 strikeouts. He is batting in the ones for multiple postseasons now. Every time they have needed him in the postseason, he has shrunk. He hasn't shown up. How do you break it down? What do you say? How do you talk about it? When Aaron Judge's name comes up, what do you say now?
Yeah, so listen, man, I mean, you hit it right on the head. He's in the ones. Aaron Judge is a career 196 hitter in the postseason. This is a guy who over the last 3 seasons has 157 home runs for the Yankees, and that's while missing 50 games last year. Absolutely one of the biggest stars in baseball, certainly offensively. I think you frame it how it's supposed to be framed, man. I think baseball is unique in this, in which you can really get exposed for being a bad playoff player because you're either getting hits or you're not. And he is clearly not getting hits. They're down 3-0. They're probably going to lose this World Series. Definitely going to lose this World Series. Yeah, they ran into a buzzsaw with the Dodgers, but you have to properly frame him as a playoff flop, right? If you're going to be that guy, right? This is a franchise who's had Mr. October. This is a franchise who's had Derek Jeter. This is a franchise who's had Mariano Rivera. If you want to be a Yankee great, you have to deliver in the postseason. The Yankees don't play for pennants; they play for World Series titles. Like let's be honest here. If you want to be a Yankee great, this was the problem with A-Rod for all those years. A-Rod would deliver in regular seasons. When it came up to the playoffs, he never quite got him there outside of that 1 year that they won the World Series. And that's why A-Rod will never be looked at the same way that Jeter did, because Jeter absolutely delivered when it counted. Those guys were clutch guys. Aaron Judge isn't. They absolutely need him right now, and he is not delivering. So while, yeah, he's a great regular season player, he's one of the best players in baseball, one of the best players we've ever seen, especially over the last 3 or 4 years, you got to properly frame it, man. When it counts,
but that's the thing.
He's not showing up for them.
Well, so, can you say that? Can you?
Yeah, I think you can't discount his regular seasons and what he's done to get them there. I mean, there was a point this year where the Yankees were dead in the water to start the season, right? Didn't they start the season was this year or last year? They started the season really bad.
Yeah, they've had lulls in both 22 and 24.
And Aaron Judge is carried, especially when a guy like Stanton hasn't been amazing in the regular season, even though he's delivered in the postseason.
Nick, the last 2 postseasons, 2022 and 2024, Aaron Judge combined is 11 for 79.
Yeah. He's not a clutch performer. He's not a primetime performer.
So is it as simple as that?
Yeah. Until he is. He isn't
he
until
in
he
the
is.
Postseason?
He isn't until he is. Again, remember A-Rod. All those years that A-Rod was fantastic for the Yankees, it didn't mean shit because he'd come up short, or the team would come up short in the postseason, and it didn't change until he won that World Series. That's where you're at. You got to show me something, man. Absolutely, he's James Harden. We will look back on James Harden and say he was one of the greatest players of this era, just like we will with Aaron Judge. But it doesn't mean anything if you can't deliver towards the ring, especially for this franchise. This is not a normal franchise. This is the New York Yankees that we're talking about. This isn't the Mariners. This isn't the Expos.
Angels.
This isn't the Angels of Anaheim. This is the Yankees. If you want to be the man in the Yankees, if you want to be the man in the Bronx, if you want to be, again, a Mr. October, right, a Mariano Rivera, you name it, Aaron Boone against the Boston Red Sox in that Game 7, whoever it is, if you want to go down as a Yankees legend and be considered one of the greats overall, all time, yes, you do.
It's interesting. So do we need to start putting guys in, he's a great regular season guy. He's a great regular season guy.
Yeah.
Because, I'm not sure you can be great and an all-timer if you don't show up in the postseason. A lot of people are talking Mike Trout, best baseball player ever. And he's never even been to the playoffs, bro.
Has he never been to the playoffs?
I don't think Mike Trout's ever played a playoff game in his
career. One day, we're not the biggest baseball guys, but one day I need an explanation of how the Angels had Trout and Ohtani on the same roster and couldn't make the playoffs. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Has Trout, they've been to the playoffs, so just not a lot. Not recently.
Yeah, he's played 3 games.
And that's it?
And it was in 2014.
So Mike Trout's only played 3 playoff games, so they got swept.
3 playoff games in 2014. So it's when Mike Trout is talked about, is it a failure? It is a failure on the organization, but that's
an organization because he hasn't been there. He hasn't been there. Aaron Judge is in the playoffs all the time.
Sure.
He's always
But
it's a much better team.
But this is why it's a big conversation of like, Mike's got to get out of there. Force your way, like. But then there's also the conversation where, like, Mike is a low-key guy, and he doesn't.
That's too low-key. You go to the fucking playoff. You've been to one time in the playoffs for 11 years. Here's the thing about Trout. Most people don't even know what he looks like. Like, let's be completely honest. He is one of the best baseball players we've ever seen. He could walk down most streets and no one would recognize him. So, I mean, that matters. But to the thing with Trout, it's different. Mike Trout's team didn't go pick up Juan Soto on a one-year rental. Like, this is the type of shit that the Yankees do. It's a team situation where they're constantly adding. You got Soto, you got Stanton, you got Judge, you got pitchers galore. Like, the Yankees are trying to field a competitive baseball team. I don't know if we can always say that about the Angels. He's there every year. Rented Juan Soto for a year. Hopefully they can re-sign him. Maybe they can't. But that's the type of shit the Yankees are doing. So I think it's a different set of circumstances for Judge than it is for Trout.
For sure. But that's all. I think part of that, if you want to be put in that greatest of all time conversation, you need to make sure you're in a position to get to the playoffs. You can't just wither away for the Angels. All this is part of the conversation. I think that's why when you, like, I don't have a problem when guys are like, yo, get me out of here.
Yeah, well, he needs to get out of there.
Like, get me out of here, bro. Y'all aren't serious about this franchise. Clearly isn't serious about winning. Get me out of here. I'm too good to be playing for this franchise in front of no people every single night because you guys don't care about winning. But it's a really interesting conversation and thought process about, man, when it's Wednesday in Kansas City, Aaron Judge is a beast. But when it's October 20th against the Dodgers, he's a nobody.
He's a zero.
How do you quantify that? It's really, really interesting. It's been something I've been going back and forth. I'm gonna leave you guys with one more. Shout out my guy Mikey. I was talking to him about this earlier today. Listen to this. The Yankees have lost their last 9 postseason games against non-AL Central opponents. 2020 ALDS, they lost in 5 to Tampa Bay. 2021 AL wildcard, they lost to Boston. ALCS versus Houston, they got swept. 2024 versus the World Series and the Dodgers, they're down 0-3. They're 10-4 versus the AL Central. So throughout the years, the AL Central has been a weaker division. Up and coming, the Guards are solid. The Royals are coming. We know where the White Sox are. But
tell me about it.
The shape, it's starting to get shaped like the Yankees are beating up on the weak-ass AL Central, but they can't compete with the guys in their own division when it comes to the playoffs. And they can't compete with Houston, and they can't compete with the other big squads. Really interesting narrative around the Yankees, and that Aaron Judge topic we'll have to revisit and talk about with players.
What are the vibes like in the city? Everybody's pissed off.
I haven't been outside yet. I'm about to go outside, and I'm gonna chat with some people. I always talk to random people and just like little shit, like, man, Yankees struggling, huh? Like if I see a dude with like a hat on the train, like, man, they look terrible last night. And then you'll get the vibe pretty quickly on where cats are at, or like Daniel Jones, man, is just tripping. And people will talk to you for 10 minutes. Like, yeah, dog, this dude's a bozo. Like, yeah, he's whack. He shouldn't be on the team. He's a thief. Like, the whole thing. Or if the vibes are decent, they'll be like, well, like the New York fans are just like Chicago fans or similar to other big market fans. But like, they're in tune. Like, you can't pull wool over their eyes. It's very difficult to do that. All right, we're going to leave it there. No Catch Up Sports Talk via Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Little. Big Nick the Quick with me, as always. Make sure you subscribe everywhere. Tell a homie to tell a friend. Super busy over here. Very fortunate to be busy. I'm going to try to get this up ASAP. Me and Nick are going to try to get you that NBA pod as well ASAP, because we got to talk about that. We got a lot of NBA time. We're big NBA guys, so we can't leave that there. Any last thoughts, Nick?
That's all I got, man.
Eberflus, fire the man. Get serious.
Fire the man. Sign some offensive linemen. Hey, and also, we have not wavered on Caleb Williams. We have one. It's okay.
We have one. There's no doubt.
Rest easy, Chicago. We have one. There's no doubt